Greetings and bienvenue, midnight crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
I got one. It was really an unsettling experience. This is long and might not be that intense, but it is required to give you the entire context. Believing it or not is up to you, but it actually happened. I will spread this throughout multiple comments. They may be at my grandma's in a remote Indian village. Dense forest terrain with houses spread sparsely. Comfortable place with poor mobile network connectivity. Always spend my vacation there ever since I was a kid. I go there often to switch off from life. People lead kinda primitive life there. Usually rice farmers. The last week of December. Traditional yearly folklore activities going on at a temple 2 kilometers away from home. Visit the temple with my cousin every night for the rest of the week. The last day of the year, December 31st. Activities were planned throughout the night till the morning of the 1st of January. Me and my cousin tag along with 4 of his friends. Need to walk 2 kilometers through the forest trail, takes around 1 hour. Maybe even more since it's forest and it's dark. We use mobile phones torch to light up the way. Road connectivity exists but no public transport after 8 p.m., plus can't drive a motorbike. Reach the temple at around 9:30 p.m. I don't remember the exact time, did not track it. Walk around the temple, watch the traditional folklore events, meet other friends of cousins, finish food. Cousins' friends that came with us plan to stay there throughout the night. We can't stay, parents will be worried if we stayed there. So it's just me and my cousin. 11:30 p.m. by the time we started going back towards home. 15 minutes in. We stop at a clearing, look up. Clear sky with no moon, no lights since no cities nearby, so we can see the stars, breathtaking sight. Too many stars to even recognize a constellation. See the Milky Way. Hear an airplane flying somewhere high. That whoosh sound, that sound you make when you spell the letter O, but only using your breath. Let's see who spots the airplane first. Can't find it. Intensity of the sound increases. Start to realize that the sound is coming from around us and not from above. Slowly the sound surrounds us, it's coming from everywhere. Not an insect. Pitch black, can't see shit around us. I start shitting obsidian bricks. Ask cousin WTF is that sound? What is going on? Realize it has become much louder now. Cousin panics and says run, 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 run. Start running in the trail. I can't really run in this terrain, tripping on stones, tree roots and run through cobwebs. Run for 2 minutes, running out of breath, start walking to gather our thoughts and to check if we are on the right path. Grab a thick wooden stick as a defensive weapon, feel somewhat safe. Can't think of anything except we need to survive. Realize the sound's intensity has remained the same even though we have run for 3 minutes straight. As if this sound was a sticky aura that has latched onto us. Check phone, no coverage. Unlock phone, try to open the voice recorder app to record my last words while my hands were shaking like jackhammer. Can't find the app, screw it. Start running again as the sound catches on and becomes louder around us. Ask cousin if we are going on the right path. This question confused him, and in his panic state of mind, start going in circles. Realize we are going to die. Too afraid to light the torch to check what's behind us, keep looking forward. Finally this small trail leads us to a bigger trail, realize we have covered halfway. Sound was slowly catching up to us. Reach a small stream of water, house is 15 minutes from this stream. Realize the sound has dampened much now, take a sigh of relief. Remove our shoes, start crossing the stream. Water is 2 feet deep and dirty. Keep feeling branches and other debris with our barefoot. Afraid if something grabs us inside the water. Hear someone scream in the distance. Might be a drunk villager, but in our state of mind, we did not want to take a chance. Say screw it and start running through the water. Reach the other side of the bank. Put our shoes on, start walking fast. Reach home with nothing but adrenaline. Get inside, lock the doors, can't sleep through the night, shaking. Don't tell anyone about what happened. Next morning we share this with his friends who stayed there last night. They explain that many people have experienced weird phenomena throughout that path. And that's why people travel in packs there. They explained another incident where a drunkard found himself in that trail where he felt someone pulling him backwards. Then someone started pelting stones at him. He was found at another villager's house begging for life after running in his drunk state of mind. My cousin knew this before, but he made us walk through there since he did not believe it. Become firm believer of supernatural ever since. It has been 5 years since that incident. Still can't find a decent explanation for this. Still talk about it, never forget it ever. Used to get nightmares of it often for a year since that incident. Now it's fine. We never go to that place again. Any Anons experienced something like this?
In a wood stuff because I lived in rural North Georgia in an old house built in 1904. Music would play in the woods at night sometimes, flutes and drums mostly. No neighbors for miles. If you wandered towards it, it would be behind you as if you ran past it. Master bedroom door would open and shut completely, with the knob turning and opening again. My father used to keep a cinder block in the room to make sure it stayed shut. Loud footsteps would start in the downstairs room, walk up the stairs to the living room, walk around the living room and go to the front door and then stop. This happened at random points of the day and night. My sister used to yell at it to stop and it would sometimes. In late May to early June there would be bright lights in the woods in the front yard. Baseball-sized super bright white lights that blink really fast, and they never ever let anyone get near them. Following them made them move off. If you stayed really still and quiet they would float nearby. Just one year they were really tiny and colorful, the same color as Christmas lights, still never ever let anyone come any closer than 20 feet to them. If you stopped getting closer they would stick around in one place. Occasionally the phone in the kitchen would freak out. Cordless phone plugged into the base would start turning on and off really quickly over and over again. Once I heard someone eating an apple, that very noticeable crunching apple sound in the abject darkness of the living room outside my door at 3 a.m. one night. I got up and listened to it for a while. There is a whole lot more too. Okay, time for some more. One summer afternoon I am walking along the edge of the woods with my mom and sister. All of a sudden while walking, it's dark, like middle of the night. I wander back to the house and my parents are pissed at me. Apparently, I vanished for 5 hours. They yelled my name and I never answered. They are mad that I did not answer and assumed I pranked them. No memory of what happened, just walking and all of a sudden it's night. Woods are haunted too. Sometimes we hear a raspy-voiced old man singing in them. Day or night, never in English. Same woods the random music happens in too. Only a single time I heard some women singing by the river. I don't want to know what happened, not getting any hypnotherapy at all, that shit can just remain totally forgotten.
Any Anons experienced something like this?
Yeah, kinda. Georgia in Norwood's guy again. Had 2 friends over one weekend. We were wandering through woods to a small pond that is about 200 yards into the woods. Tiny secluded little lake I go to sometimes, but you have to travel through forest to get there. After about an hour we start to hear some drumming. Like someone is playing a drum about half a mile away. It get closer. After a while it is probably about 20 or 30 feet away. Behind some brush. We start to move towards the woods to go back to my house at this point. Drumming follows right behind, but always just out of sight. Like it is always behind a tree. Some briars or a bush of some kind. But sounds like some guy is going nuts slamming a drum to get our attention. We just want to get away from this and start moving in a straight line through the woods. It keeps following us. Just 25-ish feet back at all times no matter how far we go. Getting nervous about this now. We do not follow the path back to the house, or any path at all. We just move east through dense forest. Eventually we get to the road and the drumming does not follow us there. We walk down the street back to my driveway. Nothing like that has ever happened before or after ever again. Typically any noise in the woods ignores us entirely or goes quiet if we try to go find it. I have been back to that lake 100 times since, but no drumming ever herded me away again like that. One of my friends never came back over again. The other tried to rationalize that it was hunters shooting way out in the forest and we just thought it sounded an awful lot like a drum right next to us. This was the middle of the day in June too. No night or shady time of day or spooky cloudy situation. Just going to the lake. Spooky invisible drums shoved us off.
I come from a spiritual Viet family, growing up with tales of ghosts and horror from the war. I remember hearing about the souls of the innocent and damned alike crying for help because they don't understand where they are. I attribute some if not all of this to US psyops at the time. Years match up. Not sure if they were running that on the coast up my cam ran. My mother saw a baby inside a thorn bush and through about 7 separate miracles. Confirmed by every member of the family who managed to survive the war. How my grandmother still talked to my grandfather after he passed. Stories that left me with more questions than answers. Obviously, I've been skeptical, but always being told not to pursue. Only to ignore and to tell them to screw off seemed reasonable in my mind. The first time I ever felt and noticed a presence was at the Congress Hotel in Chicago. I took my woman at the time out to a weekend there and stayed 2 nights. The first night we both agreed it felt like we had an additional occupant in the other room but paid it no mind. Slept through the night with no issues but woke up to the fridge door in the other room being open. Closed it and moved on with the day. On the last night we stayed, I was rubbing my woman down prepping her for some prone bone when I felt a presence again. Goosebumps, then hot on the back of my neck in a matter of 3 seconds activated fight or flight. Got up real quick, turned the lights on, just said screw off and got back to it. Finished business and went to bed. Slept great, but my old lady said I woke her up when I got up to use the bathroom around 3:40 that morning, which I hadn't. Bathroom door apparently opened during the night. Some of the complimentary soap was on the floor but figured it wasn't my problem since we were checking out to head back home. At the time I didn't know my woman was keeping mementos from all the places we were going for a scrapbook, and she had taken one of the soap packets. So we left, enjoyed our day, dropped my lady off, got home, unpacked, and went to bed. Even in childhood, outside of scary noises and the dark, I could never recall an instance of sleep paralysis or a dream that genuinely scared me. I remember staring up at the ceiling being awoken to what were tongues whispering in my ear, echoing in, out, and around my skull. I tried to turn my head and only out of my peripheral vision did I notice a gray figure in the darkness. At that moment I blinked and shot up from bed into the corner into a defensive fighting position. As I blinked for the second time I saw what all I can describe as a gray centipede worm-like entity slithering from the side of the bed crawling into a picture from on the wall. On the third blink I ran out of the house trying to make sense of what just happened. After calming down, I went back inside and just brushed it off thinking it was just some messed up dream. The day continued on. That afternoon my mother called asking how I was. She mentioned she felt something was off and wanted to check in. I didn't divulge but just told her I was probably just tired from all the driving and running around that weekend. My sister, who lived with me at the time, the next day tells me she had a really screwed up dream. She said she saw and heard something she just couldn't understand. She tried describing the figure and all she could say was it was gray. I asked her if it looked possibly like a centipede or blotted out worm and her facial expression told me everything. Saged, blessed the house and even had the local priest come over to bless the house and property. After that incident, I had a second happen a few months later in the early winter upon retrieving a free wood stove from the marketplace. The night I took it home, cleaned it up, emptied the ash already in it, threw some wood in and slept out in the living room on the couch. Again, I remember falling asleep to only blink back awake to that noise in my ear again. Feeling paralyzed, desperately wanting to get away but I can't. The logs collapsing inside the wood stove finally allowed me to blink and shoot right up again. Covered in goosebumps despite the whole house being an oven. Again brushing this off as some bullshit dream over worrying thing at the time. This started to really make me question what I was actually dealing with. The third incident helped me understand its negative energy of which it feeds off. Every yelling match, every argument left open, every issue put in the back burner for later was manifesting itself to be an environment rife for activity. This third incident occurred the last year I had the property before selling and moving to where I am now. The house sat on a 5-acre rectangle lot where I was only utilizing maybe 2 acres. I spent some time one day mowing down an additional acre up to the woodline and then clearing up some of the trails I had made. Ran well into the night with the rider mower clearing more and more further away from the house. Around 11 p.m. I called it quits, cleaned up for the night and played some video before bed. This time I dreamt vividly of the death of every loved one. It came for me first. I watched it enter my room, stand right by my bed, pull my soul from my body, and made me witness the pain and torment of the deaths it had chosen for everyone I held dear. I woke up in tears, unsure if what I had just seen was real or not. I called everyone I love, thankfully hearing from them all. While all of this up to this point had been nothing but dreams and feelings, I was not prepared for whatever it was to follow me to the place I am now. To follow me as I built my own family. Even now as I type this I am aware of its awareness that I am speaking of it now. It has manifested itself to talk once, telling both my woman and I to shut up. This was the only incident where it has spoken to me in consciousness and done something in front of a witness. It has only materialized itself once to be seen. 3:30 a.m. out in the garage, it made its presence known to me, and left before I could even react. I call it quits before 3 a.m. out in the garage now. I no longer give it fear. I continuously tell it to screw off and kick rocks on the other side. While it doesn't outright bother me, while the dreams and night attacks have stopped, I do feel it wanting me to fight with my woman, get angry, and give it the energy it needs to manifest again, but I refuse to. I don't know how this really reads to anyone, or if anyone will even care enough to read. I guess this is just my inherent desire to find answers and hope someone else has had a similar experience. Everyone loves to bullshit and exaggerate for story's sake, but these are experiences that have forever changed my understanding of spirituality, reality, and our purpose here.
I didn't used to believe. But I have been seeing some little stuff recently that has changed my mind. I still wouldn't believe it if my wife hadn't been there and witnessed the same stuff I saw and heard too over the past year. We built a new house and bought some stuff from estate sales to fill out our bedrooms. Ever since, weird stuff has been happening, like some of the stuff we brought into our home is haunted. Bedroom set, bed, dresser, mirror, etc. The bedroom we put the stuff in is upstairs away from our master bedroom. Our one cat used to claim that bedroom as hers, and the other cat used to go in there all the time, but not since we bought the bedroom set. We hear things at night now upstairs. I was sitting looking at my wife talking to her. I was sitting on our bed while she was putting on her makeup, and there is a small little hallway between our bedroom and the master bathroom she was in. That hallway has a door in it going to our master closet. The hallway light turns off on its own. We both saw it. The actual light switch switched off. It wasn't a power surge, but something physical triggered the light switch. We have 2 touch lamps on our nightstands beside our bed. On 2 separate occasions we have woke up to either one of the lamps on the brightest setting or both of them. We sat and watched as a door physically opened itself really slowly. I would be the first to admit or look for any reason for these instances to be a power surge or the wind, etc., but knowing how we built this house and actually sitting and witnessing it and being skeptical as all hell, no, the stuff we have been witnessing is more. Also, the cat acts like it is playing with someone that isn't there half the time. The cat has a certain way it will play when someone scratches her belly, and when she is under her bedroom, in the master bathroom, she always acts like she is having her belly rubbed and lays down for it. Then there are the cabinets. We have a pet peeve about our cabinet doors. We had a friend that was crashing at our house for a while, and he was really bad at leaving our cabinets and drawers wide open in the kitchen and bathrooms. It always annoyed us, and we brought it up in conversation to each other and laughed about it a long time ago. For the past few months, we have been leaving the room, just to go to another part of the house, and we come back a few minutes later to find all our cabinet doors and drawers to be wide open, knowing they were not like that when we left.
Oh boy, here we go. Me, balking on. Like going in a woods solo. Start seeing same vivid dream over and over. I am hiking on a trail going up a mountainside through dense conifer forest. The vegetation is unfamiliar though. Eventually reach a large flat clearance surrounded by mountains and forest. Have a strong feeling of relief, think to myself, I made it, this is home, and wake up. This goes on for months, don't really know what to make of it, eventually forget about it. About a year later, see a dream where I am deep in conifer woods on the shores of a lake with tall rock walls around it. We are a lot of people there, Westerners, staying in tents, and then there are the locals. The locals are absurdly tall, standing over 3 meters. A woman and a couple of men, looking like Native Americans, but they are cordial and trade with us. They have a settlement there. I have to leave, for some reason, so I decide to take it up with the locals, find some giant dude and tell him I am thinking about marching east till I reach our cities. He strongly dissuades me and tells me that I am surely going to be lost in the wilderness. The only way out of their lands is west and through the Hale's Pass. Wake up with his words on my ears, don't go east, go west till you reach the Hale's Pass. Go straight to Google. Takes me some time since the whole dream was on my native language, so I have to do some transliteration. Eventually find some obscure Hale's Passage near Vancouver, leading into some river, named after some dude Horatio Hale, an ethnologist, part of an exploration expedition under some other dude Wilkes. Find his writing on said expedition from some U.S. Archives online library and start going through them. Expedition ends on Fort Colville, the furthest civilized place westward as he describes it. They didn't venture much further west, they mostly explored the river system, but he mentioned that the only interesting ethnological and geographical mention of the vicinity of Fort Colville is this: one lake of the many in the area, surrounded by high basalt walls, that according to the Indian legend was formed when a giant serpent residing in the river, calls it the Snake River, was fought and defeated by a giant woman and her sons, size not mentioned. Their struggle formed the lake walls. WTF my life, I try to find as much information about the vicinity as possible. Search about Fort Colville. Apparently the place don't exist anymore, destroyed by the urban sprawl of modern Colville City. Find a gravure of it though. And sure as hell, there is the damn homely clearance that I kept seeing in my first dream. Didn't find anything more of it, couldn't even find the lake mentioned in Horatio's journal. The region has a ton of them. Not even sure if I should. It's been over a year now and I haven't had any dreams about it since then, but since I have researched so much at this point, any dream I see I won't take it seriously. I sometimes think I should just get on a plane and go there. But I am too scared to do it really. Plus it doesn't make any sense. What the hell does it even mean? I am an ocean and a continent away. How did this vision end up in my damn skull?
I used to rent a haunted house. A bunch of stuff happened but nothing this intense, so I'll just skip to it. My housemate and I are both moving out. Half of our stuff is packed in boxes. My housemate is staying at her boyfriend's house, I'm home alone. I have zero qualms with this, feel completely safe and comfortable. I wake up in the middle of the night and there is something at the end of my bed. I don't panic, this has happened to me a handful of times. I wake up and somewhere between dreaming and waking I see a figure or something, but as I wake up it's no longer there. So I sit up to make it go away, but it doesn't fade away, it is really there. It is green, translucent and kind of glowing, maybe 6 foot tall. I completely freak out, stand up, still there, I start screaming, like a horror movie, screaming as loud as humanly possible. I grab at everything around me, blankets, pillows, and start throwing them in that direction and then run into the lounge room, hit the light switch and slam the door closed. I walked to the mirror and saw that my nose was bleeding. I think I just sat up in the lounge room with the lights on all night that night. Moved out shortly after. I don't know what it was, a ghost I assume. If anyone has seen anything like this before, let me know.
About 7 years ago, whilst at my ex's house, she lived with her parents at the time. Her granddad, who I didn't know, had died of cancer a few weeks before. I woke up sometime in the night and saw through the corner of my eye this human-like dark shadow standing on the bed looking at my ex sleeping. I couldn't make out features, but it looked like a man. I don't know if you have ever been so shocked or scared by something your heart goes funny and you can't really breathe. A bit like being winded, that's how I felt. I sat bolt upright, waking my ex up in the process. The figure disappeared and she was like, WTF. I explained what I saw, which freaked her out a bit. Eventually we both went back to sleep. A few days later I was chatting to her mum, who was into that spiritual stuff, and she said it was most likely her granddad watching over her and she was quite emotional about it. I didn't say at the time, but to me the figure felt really dark and malevolent. Fast forward a year or so and it transpires that my ex's granddad molested her when she was younger, so to me this kind of explains the creepy feeling I had. I have never seen anything like that before or since.
My older brother was home alone one day while the rest of us were at church. He heard rustling downstairs while he was playing a video game. He paused it and heard what sounded like a glass on our kitchen counter moving. He grabbed his pistol and peeked down the stairs and saw no one. So he cautiously made his way to our first floor and to the kitchen. There was a ring of water a few inches leading to a glass of water like it had been slid, just like he had heard. He checked the rest of the house. No one. Another Sunday, while the rest of us were at church, he was playing games and started to get a weird feeling. Kept playing though. Out of nowhere he feels a small object hit his back. It was a small fake plastic grenade that he kept on his shelf on the other side of his room. Another time my family awoke to screaming at 3 a.m. All I remember was the yelling followed by my parents' muffled voices trying to calm him down in the other room and then going back to sleep. The next morning he said that he woke up and there was a glowing white figure just standing at the end of his bed. He screamed at it to go away and threw his pillow at it. It slowly started to make its way out. He was around 25. After this incident, he started seeing 1144 everywhere and never really figured out why.
Dad and I were sharing a bed while visiting someone. The house was old and run down. It looked like the guy pieced it together from garbage and free stuff from Craigslist over decades. The bed was one of those noisy spring ones with the metal tube headboard. Also, the room was pitch black. Like no streetlights, no cars for miles, can't tell the difference between eyes open and closed black. In the middle of the night, I feel the bed shifting to one side, and assume it's my dad. Then it shifts to the other side, back and forth. Then both outer edges fold up, not like the bed is caving in the middle, but like it's being folded like a taco. It flattens back out, then I feel the foot of the bed being slightly elevated, then more and more. I finally ask, "Are all right?" Getting up. My dad responds in a shuddered voice, "I thought that was you getting up." The foot of the bed lifts a few more inches, then drops to the floor. Like it had been lifted to waist height, then dropped. We left the next day.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Not exactly ghosts or similar spooks, but I have a weird story from when I was a teen. When I was a little kid, my grandma, mother's side, lived with me, my mom, and my dad, all in a house my grandma owned. It was a pretty shitty house, and a few boarded up windows away from being a crack house, but we lived there all my life. My grandma, no matter who was using the shower, insisted that she had to sit in the bathroom with them. She wouldn't watch, she just sat in the corner with her back turned to the shower. Never told anyone why, and she'd get real mean if anyone asked her about it. The most I ever got out of her was something about the pipes breaking if the water was on for too long. And that's what she'd try to stop. If you had the shower running for more than 20 minutes at a time roughly, she'd rush over, turn off the water, and start screaming at you. No one in my family objected except my dad, and he ended up leaving to live on his own, not divorcing my mom for your information. He lives with her nowadays, but he wasn't putting up with her. It wasn't until I was around 14 that she finally died, and we were planning to sell the house and move out. It was a few days before we finally would pack our shit, and I was taking one last shower. And, as a 14-year-old would do, I decided to take a long shower since I wasn't being watched by my grandma anymore. I don't know how long I was in there for, but it was definitely longer than 20 minutes. I was just about to get out when something hit me. There was this horrible, pungent smell in the shower, like boiling shit. I turned off the shower immediately and got out. And it wasn't until I was drying off that I noticed something else too. It was like the sound of a toilet flushing in reverse, and it sounded like it was coming from the shower head. I walked over, towel around my waist, to check what the hell was going on with the shower head. I had my head right under it as I felt something warm hit my face. Instinctively I wiped it off, and that's when I realized. It was a chunk of some kind of just rotted meat. And its juices had just splattered across my upper lip. I screamed, and flailed like a spurg as I sprinted out. Immediately my mom had gone up the stairs to see what was going on, and I had blubbered to her about what just happened. She cussed me out on the spot for showering for too long, and I sat there like a puppy that just got yelled at for pissing on the floor. My mom went into the bathroom to investigate, and the first thing I hear is her just screaming too before throwing up. My dad had came up too at this point, and I saw him turn pale as a sheet as soon as he poked his head into the bathroom. I pulled myself up to my feet again at that point to see what had shocked them, and I nearly threw up myself. The bathtub was filled almost to the brim with skittering cockroaches, maggots, and some kind of tar substance with the consistency of ground beef. I have no clue what happened that day, but my family's first reaction was to just get our asses off to a motel and call an exterminator. That's really all there is. The exterminator found the bugs, but didn't find whatever that weird black ground beef tar was. Sorry, it wasn't much, just the best I have that isn't. I saw a floating light in the woods at 3 a.m.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more Greentexts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.